This episode, Repurposing. Let's get creative. In this episode, the Handyman Pros have a discussion about repurposing various different items to create a solution you might not have thought about. Stay tuned to the end of the show. We've got a special promotion we're offering. Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition is entitled Repurposing. Let's Get Creative. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy, John. John, how have you been creative this week?
Yeah, creative. Creative is creative's the word of the show here, of the week. Well, Larry, I got a little plumbing joke for you.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, well, so a doctor calls up the plumber, right? And it's on a holiday. It's on Christmas, and he says, my toilet backed up, and I've got a whole bunch of company coming over. Can you get over here and fix my toilet? And the guy says, I'll be right over. Comes over, fixes the toilet, and hands the doctor a bill for $900. And the doctor goes, I'm a brain surgeon and I don't charge this. And he said, yeah, I didn't either when I was a brain surgeon.
Sweet. Yeah.
Anyways.
Creativity. And there's some right there.
We got a show here, about repurposing things that you might have lying around or scrap or other things, just to be creative. And that's kind of how we kind of started this off, right, Larry? That we were talking about, it's kind of interesting, how we got things hanging up in our garage, or, what we've used in our trucks or whatever, to hold things,
to solve problems,
right?
Thought
we'd share that, right? And get other people's, get the audience their input, because we're not going to tell you everything. We just put a list of some of the things, some of the obvious things together here. But
they're not necessarily obvious, though. That's kind of one of the caveats here, right?
It's probably after you we talk about it, it'll be like, oh yeah, man, we could have done that, kind of thing. And
yes.
Just when we were going through some of this, I was like, man, I just thought of something, But
well, I'm going to start with mine. Right. So, John, every time you look at my truck, you always marvel at my brilliant use of downspout. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a classic. And, that's just, when you think about the downspout, you can just put it, vertically, horizontally. It doesn't matter. And you can bolt it to the wall. It can hold things. It can, I use a piece of it in my truck just to corral stuff.
Yeah.
If you will, kinds of all these long pieces of trim and things like that, I stick inside this thing.
So the genesis for this,
I think you hold like don't you have like a rake or something stuck in there?
So I'm going to tell the genesis of the story, right? So I actually had this fairly long, it was like almost a 6-foot piece of downspout left from a job, right? And I had it in my truck, and I actually, it's one of these stories that you're just kind of like, duh, I should have thought of this, beforehand. I had it sitting in the truck, and I had it laying horizontally across the truck, and I had to put in, I think it was my broom, and I was getting ready to throw it in the truck, and I threw it, I went to put it in the truck, and I stuck it in the downspout, right, just to save space in the truck.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, why don't I just mount that? Because, folks, I have a Nissan van, so it's a tall roof van for me because I'm a tall guy, so it's a tall roof van. So I'm like, why don't I just mount this to the ceiling and I'll keep my broom in this thing all the time? And that's exactly what I did. So the very first piece happened to be aluminum, and so I put it up against, I mounted it to the roof rafters of the truck, and I put it over to one side. So my brooms all sit up in that thing now. I've got 3 brooms that I carry with me, and they fit in. Now, they're not downspout folks will not hold heavy stuff, but like brooms are fine. But it keeps them up and out of the way, and I actually I can grab them when I'm in the truck. I reach up and I grab it and I pull it down, and it's just like easy and simple.
Yeah.
My second one's the the base problem with the aluminum downspout is it was a bit noisy in the truck riding down the road. So when I did the other three, I went and actually bought some vinyl downspout.
Plastic stuff.
I bought the plastic stuff, and it's quiet, right? So
it's brilliant.
Yeah, and so folks, so that's just a different use for something. You know, I could have used PVC, you know, and a lot of people use PVC pipe. It's the downspout is slightly flexible, so you can kind of move it a little bit, you know, and like it just works. It just seemed to work really well. So that was,
and it's cheap,
and it's inexpensive. Yeah, it's very, very inexpensive. It's less expensive than PVC pipe for the same size. So by the time you're looking at something that's 4 inches, you know, wide. So anyway, that's downspout. I'm sure there's about 10 million other things besides moving water, right? You know, which is what downspout is really for.
Right.
So, John, give us some other ideas. What else? What have you done? Tell me a couple things. I know one thing you've done, and I've got my glass sitting on it right now, right here on my table. Here.
No, yeah, you know that's kind of funny. I had some LVP stuff. Some, you know,
samples. John, you went to Home Depot and got samples. Come on.
Yeah, the samples that I brought home. So what did I do with them? I put them down in the basement on my bar as coasters.
So folks, you go to the handyman's house when there's LVP for coasters, right?
That's right.
But it's still a great use of that stuff.
I'm sure in Big Orange or Big Blue, they're like, uh-oh, here he comes again. Down the aisle.
He's coming to get some coasters.
Got to charge him this time for those, you know, coasters. He's outfitting a whole bar or something. But, you know, it's all kinds of little pieces and parts like that. I mean, I've used a bunch of, you know, hardwood, old oak plank and stuff that I've had, you know, just the same kind of thing, just cut it up.
And make a little decorative coaster out of it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny how, you know, you look at stuff and you go, boy, I could make anything I want out of that.
Yeah, my favorite thing. Yeah, my favorite thing with LVP is something that. So one of my bug lists is every time I do some plumbing up under somebody's kitchen sink is how water's always leaked down underneath there, and the floor is always rotten out of under the sink. Right? Have you been there, folks?
Yeah,
of course you have. Everybody's been there. So I take LVP now and I actually put it in under the sink. So I actually and we're going to release a video.
Yeah, I'll put that video up.
Yeah, we're going to do this on the Handyman Pros Radio Show, the YouTube channel that we have. We're going to release a video. I shot some real rough footage, folks. Excuse the video footage, but it's really rough. But it still shows you how to put LVP in. There's a couple of tips and tricks that are there that are really helpful. But you put that LVP flooring in there and you caulk it in, you know, pretty well. My caulking job on this video is bad, but it's my house, so I can do whatever I want. But I should have trimmed it out with quarter round. Anyway. That's neither here nor there. But what it does is it actually puts a waterproof floor up underneath your sink, and so the beauty of that is if you get leaks in your slip joints, or if somebody puts, you know how you always get those rust stains from the cans that are under there? Yeah, no more rust stains, right? It all goes away. So you now have a waterproof floor up under your sink. So that's one of the uses that I found for LVP, and I don't even know how I came up with that. I just was sitting there looking at it one day going, man, that'd fit up underneath the sink, duh. You know, and I tried it, you know, and it worked out really, really well. So
yeah, and I'll also say, you know, but when you think about underneath your sink, you're always putting like soap or whatever underneath there after you've used it, and usually it's still dripping with water that you just used it right from the sink.
Yep.
You know, and that's where you get a lot of stains down there.
Yep.
And it's a brilliant use for leftover LVP to put some of those planks underneath the sink. Doesn't take very long to do it.
No, it doesn't take long. Well, total time it takes about 2 hours if you're meticulous about it. And it takes only about 3 planks. So you don't have to have a ton of it, you know, like you don't have to have a whole
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect for
leftover. Know? Yeah, it's perfect for leftovers. It's exactly right. So it's perfect for leftovers. Johnny, what about foam board? You've done a lot of stuff with foam board. Like first off, explain what foam board we're talking about.
Well, yeah, foam board. You can go down to the aisle that has all the insulation in it, and it's that it looks like it's expanded foam, you know, in a big sheet.
Yep.
And you know, there's all varieties of that stuff in there, you know. And of course, Larry, we used to cut that stuff up and make airplanes out of it.
Hundreds,
you know,
hundreds.
But you know, so for anybody out there, like you're doing art projects or whatever for kids, you know, in school or whatever, you know, it's a really reasonable place to go and get that kind of foam board, you know, and all the, you know, everybody out there that has kids, you know, small children, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Some of these projects, and it's a great place for that. It's also, these foam boards you can use them for just about anything.
Just about anything.
You insulate a box, with that stuff, and turn it into a cooler if you want to. I'm gonna just buy some of it and create little compartments for some of those 12-gallon boxes that I carry in the truck, with my tools and various stuff in there. And it's it's relatively inexpensive. I mean, I'm talking about buying a whole bunch of it, and it's quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet. I was going to say, if you're moving stuff around, it's really quiet, and it gives you some cushion too. So if you have anything that's somewhat sensitive, it's not it absorbs an impact, right? It absorbs an impact. So of course, folks, as you know, John and I are working out in the field all day. We drive all over the place, and so we like to, I like to protect my tools, and it works great for that. One of the other things I've found with any kind of foam is it cuts with what, John? Just a regular knife, like a razor knife. I mean, it cuts easily. It's easy to work with. It's a lot easier than working with wood. It's not as strong, but for certain applications, it's fantastic. It's just fantastic. You can hot glue it together. I've never done that, Johnny. You've never seen me do that.
Right.
So, folks, there's a little aside. We would build all these model airplanes, and we'd build them out of foam, and we'd literally be gluing them together on the table. We'd start like in the morning, and we'd be flying by early afternoon. Building a plane on the board at the flying field. Anyway, it's a whole other subject.
Yeah, it's a whole story.
That's a whole other story. Yeah. So there's a million uses, any kind of school projects, any kind of, just about anything. I mean, you can do. I mean, the sky is the limit. We really want some input from y'all on this too, if you've got some ideas. So another one. Speaking of foam, one of the other ones is injectable foam. So great stuff where you can spray it in. Gosh, the things I've done with great stuff, you can make molds with it. You can do all kinds of stuff, and you just you shoot it in and fold. Just don't get it on your hands. It's super sticky. But there's a million things you can do with that, too. It really works well on stopping chipmunks. Believe it or not, you can fill a hole up with foam, and they get a little ticked off. And if you catch one in it, it's fantastic, but I didn't say that. But anyway. Johnny, what do you got for a garden sprayer pump? Because you just came up with this one the other day. I like this one.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about this the other day. And I always wanted to carry some water with me so I could have like a portable wash station. When I get done with a job, I like to wash my hands, maybe in between the job, whatever I might get on my hands, because especially when you're dealing with a suspended ceiling, those suspended ceiling tiles, you can really get a lot of dirt and oil on those, quickly from your hands if you don't wear gloves. Okay, that's another tip aside, but. There's a lot of other things. You don't want to walk through a customer's place and, their house and start touching their walls or anything, after you just, full of dirt and everything. So I was going through the big box store the other day, and I came upon a little garden spray pump. It was a 1 gallon. It cost me like $5.50 or something like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to carry that thing with me, pump it up, a couple of times. I got a gallon of water. Can wash my hands right there, and I'm done. And so, that's another use for a garden spray pump.
For a garden, yeah. And I think we've talked on another show. So we also spray when we do wood rot repair. We spray it with antifreeze to kill the actual mold and stuff. So we use them for that as well. Bunches and bunches of different uses, and they're pretty inexpensive. Like John says, they're pretty inexpensive. So it's just think outside the box, right? Like where would you ever need any pressurized water? Well,
that was my thing. I was like, well, why am I even trying to noodle this out when it's right in front of me? And I actually looked at the one I had with the antifreeze in it, and I said, well, that's the perfect thing. Now I'm not going to use that one again.
What? You don't want to spread antifreeze all over?
My hands won't freeze, but I went back and I bought another one, and it's small enough to put in a truck. It's going to be out of the way, but I have a little portable, little wash station, and just. There you go.
There you go. There you go.
Good to go on that.
Here's an old tried and true one. This is old toothbrushes, right? So
absolutely.
10 billion uses, right?
Oh, yeah. I carry those things. The old toothbrushes I have, I must have about 6 or 10 of them with me all the time. And I use them for everything. If I'm taking things apart, like gears and all that kind of stuff, they're great for cleaning out gears and all that kind of stuff if you're into that kind of thing. or just anything.
Anything. Yeah.
Scrubbing stuff down. I mean, it's great. So guys and girls, just don't throw those old toothbrushes away. They're great little cleaning, apparatus. So throw them in your toolbox and have a,
Always have one or two. I always have one or two. Absolutely, got them all the time. One of my favorite things is clear plastic jars with lids. So I'm especially with a wide mouth lid. Like I'm big onto like mayonnaise jars and anything that's a wide lid. Because in my world, right, when and this applies to homeowners just as well, but I want a place to put nuts and bolts or nails or screws or whatever, but I don't want to have to open something up to look at it, right? So if it's a clear jug, I'm very partial to the mayonnaise jars because they're clear plastic and they don't break. And you can put a pretty good amount of nuts or like screws. I do them a lot with screws. So I put a lot of screws in there or nails, same thing. But you put them in there, you can see them. So and they're away, but they're clean. If they fall over, they don't break, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's so many other uses for these things, but that's just one thing that I've used and really, really like them. Really, really like them. I mean, it's just kind of, and I'm, John, are we saving the environment? Yeah, we're saving the environment. We're repurposing old plastic. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think some of the examples of those plastic tubs is, like I said, I bought this big thing of like trail mix, and everybody out there, if you buy that like crackers or whatever, or pretzels and stuff like that, you can buy them in those big plastic jugs, especially at a big box thing like a Costco or something like that, you know. And they're clear and they're perfect for this because they fit inside boxes, and everything stacks up. They're made to
they're made to stack. Yeah,
that's what I mean. They're made to stack, right? Exactly.
Yeah, they're made to stack, which is great. So again, we work in a mobile world, so we have to take everything with us, and so therefore it's really great when we can put things in that stack up. It's just great for us as far as storage, areas. And the other side is, we get to enjoy whatever was in that thing beforehand, and then we get to reuse it when we get done. Yeah. So, my wife has standing orders: don't throw away the mayonnaise jars, because really don't throw away the mayonnaise jars.
The one thing I don't, and I guess maybe it's just me, but when you buy it, if you go down and you buy like a box of nails or screws, right? I hate dealing with those boxes.
Ditto.
Ditto. That's why I really like, as soon as I get home with the box, I'll label whatever, these jars, and I'll dump that whole box in there, because I just can't stand, the way they got the whole box sealed up and it's pouring out, they're falling out of there. It's a mess, right?
You know what I do with
that? Next thing you know, you got half that box in the tires of your car.
You know what I do? I actually take the description of whatever it is off the top of the of the box. I rip it off and throw it in the clear plastic thing. So if I want to know, like, they're 1 1/4 inch drywall screws, that's what it says on the label.
That's it.
Right?
That's
so
it.
Drop it right in there. You can see it. It works like $1 million. So I want to talk about my next favorite thing, which is t-shirt bags, right? So t-shirt bags are the bags you get at the grocery store. And one of my favorite tips to do with those is I use them, along with using them for everyday trash bags in my truck, just because I don't want to have a whole lot of trash floating around in my truck. I use them for just regular trash. But the other thing that I use them for all the time is if I'm drilling a hole in drywall, I actually take, and we'll put this up as a video, and we've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. You just take that plastic bag, you take some blue tape, you tape it up under the hole where you're using it, you drill the hole, all the drywall dust goes into the bag, and away it goes. You wrap that thing up and either throw it out or use it again or whatever it is that you want to do. But you don't have to vacuum up drywall dust. It is magic.
Right. That's a great little tip.
It's magic.
I'll tell you, and I'll just add on to that, is that use an old tube, like a paper towel tube or something like that, to stash all those bags in.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So that way they're all neat, out of the way. Right bags on the outside of the tube, and away you go. I always carry a tube, in my toolbox, because one of the things about me is every time I turn around, I'm like, you know what? I never have a rag with me or a bag. And you always need that.
Yes.
You're always looking to, and you're just like, I never have it. So now, boom, I have about, 5 of those bags with me at all times.
Yeah, perfect. What else, Johnny? PVC pipe? I don't even want to get into it. There's so many uses. Oh my God!
You can go on YouTube and find a jillion people doing stuff with PVC pipe. I mean, that's like one of the wonders of nature that they invented. Not only did that stuff make plumbers out of all of us, really. You know, it's just, man, you know, sky's the limit. You want to make some furniture? PVC pipe.
Yeah, you name it.
When I was living in Miami, I had a friend of mine that made floating chairs. He lived by a canal. He used to float around in the chairs because it was all sealed up with the air in there.
Oh, so it had air. Yeah, he made basically air.
Yeah.
Why not?
You know,
right?
But it's, you know, it's sky's the limit with PVC pipe. I mean, there's all kinds of projects for that stuff.
Yeah, go Google that one. Or look at it on Pinterest or anywhere. Pinterest. Look, and I mean, oh my God, right? I mean,
right.
I've used it. What's some of the unique things I've used it for? I use it for structure a lot. Like I'd be building something. Say you want to enclose an area for a temporary enclosement. You know, you buy 1-inch pipe and you put it together, and you don't glue it together. You just put it together and then tape plastic on it, and boom, you're done. You know, it's just like there's so many uses.
You know, what I did was I made racks out of it for my car.
Yep.
When I used to transport all my planes and everything, I used to have, you know, different levels of racks inside my car that I used to put this stuff together with, and I just took some zip screws and screwed it together.
Yep.
You know, I've seen guys use it for holding down tents.
Yep.
Where they would just fill a big section of PVC with concrete, you know, and use it as weights.
Yep.
You know? I mean, it's endless.
It's endless.
It's
endless.
It's endless.
Yeah, it's endless. What's another one, Johnny? What else are we going to talk about?
You know, the other one that I use and I really like I've got a number of these 12-gallon boxes that you can buy at the big box store, and that's the lids on it and everything. Just a big empty box, but I use milk jugs filled with drywall compound. You know, the
20 minutes,
the powder.
Yep.
Yeah, the 90, the 20, the 45 and 90, right? And I fill those things up instead of working with that bag of dusty drywall like Durabond. It's just awful, you know. So every once in a while I go out and I'll fill up these, you know, as the milk jugs get lower. Well, I'm using this stuff, and they stack next to each other, and they fit perfectly inside these boxes. And I just look down and I got them all labeled. There's my 45, there's my 20, because I'm not doing a whole basement full of drywall,
right?
You know,
right?
But it's mainly for patches, and there's plenty of it for that.
And tell the story. How do you fill those? How do you fill those milk jugs?
So you know, you can use a funnel. But what I did is, you know, we both did is you can use these milk jugs, right? It's a half-gallon milk jug, and you can cut it and save the handle and make a scoop out of it, and it's perfect for the gutter. So you can use it to scoop out everything out of the gutter. And I just, you know, so the cap is still on that piece.
So that's for a gutter scoop, right? So
right,
you're
but
making a gutter scoop.
I looked at it and I said, "Hey, that's a great funnel." So I just took the cap off of it. I ran tape around both necks of the bottle, one to the other, and just started pouring that stuff in there. And I thought for sure it was going to be a real nightmare to get the drywall powder in there. Nope, it just went right in. It was great. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. So, you know, I just don't like transporting those big bags.
Oh, they're terribly messy. I have mine in a sealed box, and it still gets drywall dust everywhere.
Exactly. So now you've got this big bag. Then you got to put it inside a box, you know, unless you're the drywall guy, right?
Right.
And it's just, you know, you don't care. It's just blowing everywhere. But, you know, as soon as you touch that bag, it goes poof. And, you know, stuff is just, you know, blowing out everywhere. Big white cloud of, you know, dust. And,
you know why I don't use milk jugs, Johnny?
Yes.
Because we don't drink milk. So I don't have any milk jugs, which kind of stinks. But anyway.
But any kind of jugs, you know. You know, use anything like that. I mean, I just like them because they have the handles on them, and you know, just they stack boom, you're done.
Yeah, there's a million uses for milk jugs. That's another one. Go on and go Pinterest and look at that stuff too, and you'll find, there's tons of things. Gosh, we used to use them as buoys back in the day. Like we'd be doing water skiing, we'd set them out as buoys, because they float good. Used to tie fishing lines to them, for trot lines, and used to do that back in the day when I was young.
Well, I'll tell you, stuff. I'll tell you around the garden too, around the house. If I'm planting something, I'll take them, fill them up with water, and poke some holes in it.
And you now have a sprinkler.
And just set it next to the plant, and there's a gallon of water for you, buddy.
Man, that's awesome. So, is there anything else we wanted to talk about? There's so many ideas. We're going to do. I guess our goal is we're going to do this show again, right, John? Is that what our goal is?
I'd like to get the audience, what they're doing out there, how they're repurposing things, because you see this all the time. There's so many clever things going on out there, but this is something that really saves me time, and aggravation when I can think of some of these things.
Yeah, because sometimes they're born of desperation. Not desperation, but sometimes it's just like, well, what do I need? What do I have at hand right now, right?
Exactly. I mean, this, like what we just talked about, how to store drywall, compound. I mean, that just it used to be a real pain in the butt, but now with this kind of thing, it's great. But I just like to, people can join our Facebook page and just add in, what they've done. That'd be great if you all could do that.
So that's it, Johnny. We want to challenge our listeners. We want feedback on this topic, right? So what have you done? Drop us a note on our Facebook page. That's at Handyman Pros on Facebook, or you can send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. But we're going to do a follow-up show with all your great ideas. So what we want is this is the challenge, right? We might even add a promotion into this if we get enough responses. We might give a prize away or something. But we really want your ideas. What have you taken that's a common item and repurposed it for something other than, storing milk, or using it for plumbing, or using foam board to insulate? Or have you come up with any interesting uses for LVP or downspouts or anything? It doesn't matter. Tell us whatever you've done out there that's different. We want your feedback. We're really interested in this, because you know what? It might end up in our trucks. That's part of the the gig. Right. It's kind of self-serving to a degree, right?
Help an old guy out here.
Help an old guy out. That's exactly right. So, again, hit our Facebook page at Handyman Pros. Questions at handymanprosradioshow.com. Handymanpros@gmail.com is another email as well, so you can hit us up on any of those spaces and send us your ideas, because we really are interested, and we really want to do another show on these items. So we'll go from there. Johnny, when the spaceship landed in my yard the other day, the guy was wondering what he could repurpose.
You know what he did?
Tell me.
I'll tell you. He repurposed the way to harvest crops with his tractor beam.
Ba-doom, boom. Oh, Johnny.
Later.
Wow, folks. Questions, comments, or concerns, and I'm telling you, the jokes.
That's a lot of concern.
That's a lot of concern. Send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. Go to our website. You actually can leave a voice message if you want. You can join our Facebook group at Handyman Pros, or follow us on Twitter at Handyman Radio. And we will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.